We're live and welcome back to the Is That Legal podcast with my co-host Cristina from BlueZone Legal. Look, we have got some really great stuff for you today. Cristina, how are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. And I'm really excited to actually share this information because there's been a lot of, I guess you can say, chatter out there, and it's like, hey, people have heard, okay, I think most people have heard, okay, they finally passed the law on the 180 days. We can now drive for 180 days. And a lot of people announced it, but guess what? They were wrong. They were wrong because it doesn't matter if they pass the law and the president doesn't sign it, because realistically, he's got 10 days to sign it, but everybody knows things take longer in Costa Rica. 10 days was long gone. But we're going to be talking about that little bit of information because we're wondering, did it ever get published? And, well, are there some advantages of having a Costa Rican driver's license? Does it make life better? And you know what? What if you're traveling to Costa Rica as a tourist and you drive your own vehicle? We're going to be covering all that and more because you know what? Cristina, CEO of BlueZone Legal, she likes to demystify some of this legal mumbo jumbo that goes on in Costa Rica. Am I right, Cristina?
You're absolutely right.
Fantastic. Well, hey, if this is your first time here, I'm Alan. Been living in Costa Rica since November 2013. Cristina has been here almost as long as I have, just a few months after I got here. And together we know Costa Rica. Hey, she knows the law, and, well, I know everything else. Or I think I do. So, hey, first question. The 180-day deal. Hey, YouTubers announced it. It passed, or it's legal and you don't have to stamp out, but that was wrong. Just because a law gets passed, it's important to understand that it's not enforceable and it's not actually technically legal until what happens?
Until it is signed by the president and published on the Gaceta, the
So
official.
the Gazzette is Costa Rica's legal, magazine?
Exactly, where they publish all the laws and regulations and everything.
So when a law passes, the president has 10 days to review it and I guess you could say veto it if he likes.
Exactly.
Okay, and in this case, 10 days was long gone. People were wondering, and not most people, but people like you and I, it's like, hey, I've checked with you a couple of times. All right, Cristina, did it get published? No, it hadn't get published. We don't know why. Well, did it ever get published, Cristina?
Yes, on May the 7th.
On May 7th, it finally got published, which is actually, it was a little over a month after it was announced that it got passed, right? So,
Yes.
The important thing about Costa Rica is you just have to remember, everything in Costa Rica takes longer than you would expect. Now, it did get passed, which is really, really good news, right?
Mm-hmm.
But along with that passing, they did make some really interesting changes, okay? And so one of those changes that I've been hearing a whole lot about, because, when you're in Costa Rica as a tourist, even when you're living in Costa Rica does come with a host of challenges. It's a different culture. There's things you got to learn. However, driving can just be a nightmare in Costa Rica. But here's what I've discovered. Whenever you are in Costa Rica and you become a resident and you've got an actual cedula, or for us, it's a DMEX card, things seem to get easier because, well, you're invested in Costa Rica. So, as I began doing a little bit of research, I'm checking all over the internet because, hey, I'm in Costa Rica. I've got my United States driver's license. It's about to expire. I know it would be so much better if I could get a Costa Rican driver's license. So the big question is, hey, as an expat coming from another country, when am I eligible to actually get a Costa Rican driver's license?
As soon as you file your paperwork for a residency before immigration.
Okay, so as soon as I file the paperwork, because there's been a lot of chatter out there saying you can't get a driver's license until you're a resident. That's not
Well,
right.
it was true up until May 7th. Now, one of
Up
the
and
big changes of the new law is that people who are in trámite, meaning they have submitted a residency or digital nomad visa application, with the plantilla, the golden ticket, showing proof that they are in the process to obtain a legal status here, they can immediately request a Costa Rican driver license.
Now that is really great news. So regardless, and correct me, regardless whether you're filing for one of the many different types of residencies or whether you're filing to be a digital nomad visa, because that's supposed to be fast, but hey, we know you did my paperwork for digital nomad visa and it took months instead of the 14 days they claim it would take. So regardless, residency, digital nomad visa, as soon as you process that paperwork at immigrations, I can actually go get my Costa Rican driver's license.
Exactly. This is what the new law says.
Fantastic. And see, it's just like what Muka Marine here says. He says, I like driving in Costa Rica except for the traffic checkpoints. And you know what? I can agree with you because, you know, and that's why that question on here's one of the big benefits. And you tell me if I'm wrong or if you disagree or give me some more benefits. You know, if I know that as a resident, I'm not a resident, but if you're a resident, you have that D-Mix card. If you get stopped anywhere you go, things just makes life easier in Costa Rica. Well, I know, or I feel like I know, you know, because I've been stopped so many times. And I've been stopped by crooked traffic cops. And look, I'm not bagging on Costa Rica. You got crooked cops all over the world, okay? And so, hey, there was a crooked cop stopped me, and I ended up getting a ticket, and I hadn't broken any law. But if I would have had a Costa Rican driver's license, I really feel like I wouldn't have had any problems whatsoever because I could have whipped that out, and then he would have known, oh, he don't need to stamp out. He would have waved me right through.
I agree with you. Having a Costa Rica driver license is the best thing to go to traffic checkpoints without stress.
So there you go, Muka. Hey, get your Costa Rican driver's license, and then you won't have problems at the checkpoints. And that's just, you know, hey, I can't wait to research that more. But I want to back up a little bit on that driver's license. So now we can go get a driver's license, but at one point in time, like you said, you did have to be a resident. You don't have to. But there was this other tricky thing that said it had to be 90 days after you actually stamped into the country. How does that change, or does it?
It did change. So now in the past, you had to have remained in the country for 90 days before you have been able to get your driver license. Now there's no time required.
So there was,
once you
so there's no time.
There's no time. Or even before, once you're in the process, you can just ask your Costa Rican driver license.
Now, that really didn't make sense because you was only allowed to be in for 90 days, but you had to wait till after 90 days, which meant you was illegally in the country trying to get a driver's license.
Exactly, especially because you need an appointment or even two, depending on the locations, to get your Costa Rican driver license. So it was
now,
really hard.
If I'm correct, Christine, I didn't mean to interrupt you. If I'm correct, you do have a Costa Rican driver's license, right?
As a matter of fact, I do. And I obtained that after I got my D-Mix. So for those who don't know me, I'm Italian. I've been living here since 2014. I've been in the process to obtain a residency. And once I obtained the residency, I waited the famous 90 days that we no longer have to wait. And then I got my Costa Rican driver license.
Okay. So in your opinion, as an expat, did you find it was difficult, not difficult? How easy was it for you to actually get the Costa Rican driver's license after you met those requirements?
It was very easy, only made complicated because I forgot my D-Mix at home. So when I arrived 2 hours away for the process, I'm like, oops. But if I hadn't forgotten my residency card, it would have been very easy.
It would have been easier. Now, I, from my understanding and from the chatter that I hear, it can sometimes be difficult to get an appointment to go get that driver's license. Is that right?
That's totally right. And I'm going to give you a breaking news that as BlueZone Legal, we are always trying to make things easier for the expat community. So we are reaching out to COSEB institution to see if we can create a new package for expats to get their Costa Rican driver license with our help. We weren't offering the service, but now we will. We just need time to make sure that we coordinate with COSEBI, also because these new rules are new. So we need to make sure that we give time to the authority to implement and make sure that when you go there and you go to the appointment, they know, for example, that you can now request it just with your case file. They no longer need a DMEX,
Wow. Okay.
So, but we
Now,
will be doing this.
Now, I did quite a bit of research before I called today, and some were saying that there are certain days that are better to go as an expat. Is there some truth to that?
No, I think appointments are released on certain days of the week, and you have to be, there when they do, or they will, finish as soon. The availability of appointments will finish very early. But this is what we are verifying.
Okay, I see. Now, one other quick question about the driver's license. I'm an expat. Of course, I got my driver's license for the United States. When I go there, do I actually have to take a test, actually a physical paper test and a driving test? Or am I doing something different that just says, hey, I've got a driver's license, it proves that I'm able to drive, and I'm just doing some paperwork to get a Costa Rican license?
The second, you are just homologating. That's the name of the process. So you show proof that you have a valid foreign driver license, for example, U.S. driver license. You will need, if it's not Spanish, to get it translated by a foreign translator. We can also help with that. And you will need a dictamen médico, a medical report showing the proof that you are in good health. And there you go. In the past, they were also asking for the movements of immigration, but we think this requirement will no longer be needed since it's not applicable anymore based on the new rules, without going into too much detail.
Right. Now, that's really good news, because if I had to actually take a physical paper test, it's all in Spanish. I may not understand it, but with this, hey, I'm just homologating. I'm really just kind of converting my United States license into a Costa Rican license, but it can't be expired. It does have to be a good license.
Exactly.
Great.
And you will get the same, for example, you can drive the same type of vehicles allowed according to your foreign driver license.
Okay. So my license, I have, in the United States, in most cases, in most states, I have one license and I have a motorcycle stamp. So I don't have to have a motorcycle license and a driver's license. I used to have a CDL, but I would have different little initials or stamps on my car. In Costa Rica, I think it's different and separate license. Is that correct?
I think there is a license just for motorcycle, but if you have the one for vehicles like cars, then you also can drive motorcycles. But I'm not sure.
Okay.
I have to be honest.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about. Hey, I'm coming to visit Costa Rica, and I tell most people. A lot of people ask me on my channel, hey, I just think I'm gonna just drive in and do a driving tour, from California all the way to Costa Rica, and I tell them, hey, I highly advise you not to, but there have been a handful of people that do. So the question is, people want to know, if I drive my personal vehicle into Costa Rica, what's the rules? How long can I keep it there? Tell me some information about that.
Okay, so before the changes of 180 days, it was pretty clear that you had your tourist visa up to 90 days, and for the same time, you could get your foreign vehicle into the country on a temporary basis. Now, after the tourist visa extension changed to 180 days, there's been uncertainty as to whether this will apply also for the length of the permit for the vehicle. Okay. Now, we did a little research, and the customs regulation established that you can have the vehicles for the same extension of your tourist visa. There's no reference to the 90 days. So in our interpretation, this means now that if you have a visa of 180 days, your vehicle can stay here for 180 days. However, we are still waiting for a confirmation from custom agencies And if people, we have some recommendation that we would like to give, but I don't want to give too much information in this live session. But we can totally provide some guidance on this topic as well.
All right. So it looks like at this point, if a tourist or an expat drives in with his vehicle, he can stay for the same 180 days because that's what his tourist visa is. Now, at the end of that 180 days, let's say he decides he wants to stay another 180 days. Is it as simple as going to the border, getting his passport stamped, coming right back in? He's got another 180 days on his vehicle?
Yes, provided that we have to remember that it is up to 180 days. And the border official has discretion. So they may always say, no, I'm just giving you 10 days. And I have already heard stories of people who have been told, hey, you have been stamping in and out too many times. I'm not giving you the full extension of the visa. So we have to be prepared to see certain restriction now that the rules are so expat friendly.
Right, and I'm glad that you brought that up because, I've gone through that line and I've seen people with an attitude, who think that they're demanding that 90 days or demanding that 180 days, and what you have to remember, it is totally and completely up to that official as to whether he gives you 3 days, 1 day, 180 days. So be very nice and very friendly when you go through immigrations because it's totally up to him as to what he's going to give you going in and out. And, that brings up, you said he might look at it and say, well, you're going in and out too much.
Yeah.
Well, why would he care?
I don't know, probably because they don't like the so-called permanent tourists, and they would like for you to apply for a residence in a legal status and pay social security here and be really part of the country, which is fair, I have to say, but we also need to put ourselves in the shoes. It's, getting a residency here is not for everyone. You never know what the person is going through or what his life is.
Right. And I agree with you. And I believe that exact same thing because, in most cases at immigrations and, hey, all Costa Ricans, the whole government, if you're going to stay in Costa Rica a few years, hey, you've been here a couple of years long enough to decide whether you like it or not. And if you're going to stay here, instead of being a perpetual tourist going in and out, go through the effort of getting your residency and be a tax-paying resident of Costa Rica. Do your part. And that's why I say, when you have that DMEX card, when you have that Costa Rican driver's license, it makes life so much easier. So there's just, in my opinion, way, way more benefits of having a Costa Rican driver's license than not. Don't you agree?
Totally. I don't see any cons, honestly. The cost is also very cheap. Like going to the residency is expensive, but not getting a Costa Rica driver's license. So.
Right. And so Muka Marine wants to clarify, says, so does this mean you can drive for 180 days if that's what your stamp says?
Positive. That's exactly the news of the new law.
Absolutely. So it now makes it very clear that as long as you got 180 days, you can drive for as long as your passport is valid. So that's really, really great news. So
maybe let me add something. Oh, sorry. We already have a Q&A on these new rules because we have just said that you can get a Costa Rican driver license immediately when you are in the process. But what if you don't want to do that? Then can you drive until you're granted the residency or not? And our interpretation is that you cannot. So you either have to have a tourist visa valid, and so you drive as a tourist, or you apply for a Costa Rican driver license. But if you are in the process and you decide not to request a Costa Rica driver license just because you prefer not to, which is fair, be prepared to restamp once your tourist visa expires. Only hopefully now it's not going to be 90 days, but 180 days.
Okay, so that's one aspect of the law that actually changed because in the past, before May 7th, if you were a permanent resident, you didn't have to get a Costa Rican driver's license. You could just continue to drive with your home driver's license. So if I understood you right, once you become, clarify for me.
No. So even before, while you were in the process to obtain a residency or another status, you could stay for the entire length of the process for immigration purposes, from the immigration standpoint. But to keep driving, you always had to renew your tourist visa. So
Right.
this is still the same unless you got a Costa Rican driver license. So what changes is that now, if you don't want to restamp while you're in the process, you can already get a Costa Rican driver license.
So right now, if you're in process, you're still going to have to stamp every 180 days unless you decide to get a Costa Rican driver's license.
That's correct.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified that because that is extremely important because that was a headache. And it was one thing that it's like, wait a minute, I'm in the process of getting my residency. Why do I have to keep stamping out? Well, they've made it easier for you. You don't have to keep stamping out. Just get a Costa Rican driver's license. If you don't want a Costa Rican driver's license, you're going to have to stamp out. Avoid that headache. Just get a Costa Rican driver's license.
Exactly.
Perfect, perfect. Well, one other quick question as far as bringing your own vehicle in here. So let's say that I come in here as a tourist and I brought my vehicle in. It's here for 180 days, but I decide that, you know what? I like Costa Rica. I'm just going to stay in Costa Rica. I can stay in Costa Rica, go ahead and get my residency, but what about my vehicle? It can't stay, can it?
It can stay. So the custom rules are very complicated and different regulations are in place. But my understanding is that if you enter on a tourist visa and your legal status gets extended somehow, you can request an extension of the permit for your vehicle up to 1 year.
Up to
And
1 year.
up to 1 year. This is
But
there are so many regulations. It's always better to reconfirm with the custom agent and everything. But in theory, this is it.
But at some point in time, when you get residency, you're going to have to decide that if you want to keep your vehicle, you're going to have to change it and have Costa Rican plates, which means at some point in time, when you go through customs, you're going to have to pay import duties and taxes and all of that. Is that correct?
That's correct. And probably this is why there are certain incentives for certain categories of residency that include that once you are granted the condition as resident, you can import up to 2 vehicles in a duty-free regime.
Fantastic. So it is important to understand that when you do come to Costa Rica, there are quite a few different residency categories. And hey, you need to make sure that you talk to a legal representative. Hey, CEO Cristina from BlueZone Legal, her whole team can help you with exactly what you need. What is going to be the best category? Because, I mean, really, most people know about, I guess you can say, the top 3, and that's being just you're retired, you're an investor, or you're a worker like me, a rentista. But, you got categories where you adopt children, have children, get married. There's a lot of little different categories. But, to find out which one is best for you, hey, you can always download the free PDF in the description below, and in that way you can get all the information you need to contact Cristina, make an appointment, and they can certainly help you.
Absolutely. And we also have a free consultation. So the first appointment with our team is free of charge. And we go through the residency option and we make sure that people are aware of what it means to become a resident, including having to pay Social Security and so on.
Okay. Now, Muka has a quick question here that if you can answer would be great. Says, I heard from the dealer that you can put a vehicle on your passport or into a corporation. Any pros and cons on that?
Okay, so any foreigner can purchase a vehicle with just their passport. They do not need to be a resident. So what the dealer said is correct. Another option is to put it in the name of a corporation established in Costa Rica. Now, what is best? It depends on the specifics. As a general rule, if a corporation also owns a property, a real estate asset, we recommend the client to keep the vehicles separate. So that in case of a transit accident, which is unfortunately very common here as in any other country in the world, there cannot be any lien on the property because of a transit accident. So it will be better in that specific case to keep the vehicle in the name of the person as an individual, and if it's a foreign, that means having the passport rather than in the corporation.
And that's really a wise decision. If I were to buy a vehicle, I'd most definitely put it in my passport, because that actually just kind of separates the two. It puts that corporate veil between the two, to where, hey, if there's an accident, it's my fault. I mean, someone could step out and you could accidentally kill someone. Well, if that's separated from your house and your house is in the corporation, well, now they can't put a lien and sue you for everything that you have. They can only take what's on your passport, which would be your car. So yeah, it's a smart move. Yeah. All right. So, this is really exciting news, and it's really good to know that, hey, as soon as possible, I can't wait to actually get my Costa Rican driver's license, because I've had too many cases. I mean, there are a lot of traffic checkpoints, and I guess that's a good thing, but it's really a pain to go through these traffic checkpoints and make sure that I could just pass through there real quick and easy with a Costa Rican driver's license.
Yes. Another thing I would like to add is, since the new rules are very new, I recommend carrying them with one person, especially if you're driving on a tourist visa. Make sure you carry them with you. On our website, it is possible to find an English version of the new rules, so they can download your PDF, get in contact with us, and we can give them all type of recommendation to make sure they go through those checkpoints stressfully.
So if someone goes to your website and find that blog post about the driving, would they actually be able to maybe download a PDF that has it in Spanish that talks about the actual new law?
In Spanish and in English, yes.
Okay. Now, obviously, the one in English is not going to. The one in English is good for me to read so I can understand it. But if I get stopped by the transit cop, I need to be sure to have that PDF it's in Spanish, so that I can say, "Hey, look, I'm legal right here." Is that right?
But at least if you also have the English version, you know what to point. Hey, this is here. This is what it says, and this is the Spanish version. So we kept the format similar so that it's easy to understand. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, folks. Hey, look, we're nearing the end of our time. So if you have any questions for Cristina, hey, now's probably a good time to ask it, because she does have a limited amount of time. We want to respect her time, but we greatly, greatly appreciate you taking the time, Cristina, to demystify, all of this chatter that's been going on. And I'm really excited to know that, we can contact you, get that information for our subscribers. So, folks, if you got a question, put it in there right now. By the way, hey, be sure to support this channel. If this has been really great information for you, make sure that you comment, like, subscribe, share that video with other people. Remember, if you want to contact Cristina and her whole team, she's got an awesome team of people. And we actually did a video where we talked about her whole team, met her whole team. So, hey, look in the description. I'll put a link to that video. Maybe somewhere up here, there'll be another link to where you can click on it. You can check out her whole team. And we talk about all the stuff that BlueZone Legal can actually help you with as an expat coming to Costa Rica. So be sure, download that PDF in the link below so that you can contact Cristina and her team. They'll be happy to help you out, answer your questions. And like she said, hey, your first consultation is free, and that way they can help you, guide you in the right direction as an expat coming to Costa Rica.
Yes, thank you, Alan.
All right. Well, I'm looking. I don't see anything else in here. Folks, we want to say thank you so very much. Greatly appreciate all of you taking the time to join us. Cristina, as always, it's been fun to have another Is That Legal?
Thank you. It was super fun.
All right. We'll see you next time.
See you. Bye.